All right, we are back once again with Mr. McGiffert. Best seat. This is the fourth time we've sat together. The second time you sat with us, and I think it's going to have to be this way going forward.
Yeah, but it's our third time collectively all sitting together as a trio.
Fourth.
Fourth. You know what's crazy about this? He keeps resetting his own record. It's like it used to belong to Mike Kehoe. And then we had a couple of other people who, and they come on, the lawyer KUX and Lisa Roginski's, but he's holding the record. He's not letting it go.
Today, in the spirit of Valentine's Day, happy Hallmark Day,
which was 2 days ago.
2 days ago in the future.
Correct.
Yep. We're getting into a romance of the ages, up close and personal.
Tell me.
For those who are following along, chapters 60 and 61 in your textbooks.
From the book Best Seat in the House with David McGiffert.
The keywords for today are communication and respect. Two things that are key to a successful relationship and a successful production.
RESPECT. Find out what it means to we.
I like it.
Got it.
Mr. McGiffert, thank you once again for being with us.
Pleasure.
David McGiffert's book begins with a foreword by screenwriter Bob Gale saying, "There is no shortage of fascinating memoirs about Hollywood. There are memoirs by movie stars, directors, producers, and studio executives. There are memoirs by character actors, composers, film editors, and even cinematographers. And I've read quite a few, but until now, I've never read, much less even heard of, a memoir by an assistant director, which is a shame, because assistant directors, or ADs as we call them, have great tales to tell. An AD is uniquely positioned at the center of a production and all of its moving parts, the conduit between everything and the director. If the production was a human body, the AD is the heart that keeps the blood pumping to all the necessary places. And David McGiffert was the heart of telling many amazing stories. 1976 King Kong, An Officer and a Gentleman, Tootsie, Back to the Future, Rain Man, Batman Returns, The People vs. Larry Flint, Man on the Moon, and Vanilla Sky, just to name a few. Could you imagine getting to peek around the memories of someone with such a fascinating vantage point? Well, imagine no more. Well, not really. Never stop imagining. But imagine no more what it would feel like to peek around the memories of someone with such a fascinating vantage point. In this series, we will talk about the stories behind the stories of David McGiffert's memoir, Best Seat in the House. This is Best Seat with David McGiffert.
All right, let's get up close and personal. We're talking Robert Redford, Michelle Pfeiffer. Two very different, it seems, at least based on what I read in the book, two very different personalities on the film set as far as how they go about time. I would argue that Redford, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. McGiffert, I'd argue that Redford is more of a royal and I'm more of a Pfeiffer. If
Did
you
the
were
job
to,
get done?
if you were
Did the audience like it? But no, I'm not too respectful to do that though. We're friends and we're business partners, so it's a little gray area there. Your friend's late, but the professional's always here.
You know him, in the sense of, we're going to be somewhere at this time and do this thing, and you obviously you've worked with Redford enough. Am I crazy to draw a comparison there as far as their relationship with time and commitment?
I'm not sure what I'm stepping into here, guys, but
a crazy world, rainbow land.
Well, here's the thing I could say. Most people I know who work in film, if you have a time deadline, they're usually there early. That's just what I've noticed with almost everybody I know personally. And also I noticed it with, general crew calls. People were there early. Bob had a reputation for not. But I'm not implying that has anything to do with royal.
It's a whole new kind of BPT. It's not Black people time. It's Bob people time.
I'll just say this again. When it comes to call time, I've never missed a call time. I've never missed that. I won't miss one because, again, when it's a whole set of crew of people, I don't care whether you're craft services or what you're doing. I want to be respectful of people's time.
I will give you that, but time is a spectrum.
True, but when it's me and you, it's like a lot of great things happening. But I will say this: when Robert,
before you say that, let's do a quick recap on what the hell we're talking about here. So chapter 60 and 61 both cover up close and personal. 60 covers the a day on the set with Michelle Pfeiffer. 61 covers a incident with Robert Redford, or Bob, as David refers to him. Michelle Pfeiffer has in her contract 12-hour days. I think she even turned down a role on another film that would have had her overseas because she just recently had a child, or she had 2 young children. 12 hours in and out. That's in her contract.
I mean, all actors usually have that, which you guys probably know.
Right.
But she was very committed to having everybody understand that from the get-go. Yeah.
Right.
And on the flip side of that, Robert Redford, so Michelle Pfeiffer stayed late, not late. She almost stayed late. Robert Redford was late, way late. So those are the two juxtapositions of the stories, and we can get into the details.
Listen, when it comes to that task of being on set, it's not foreign just to us. That contract is also with musicians as well. If you know the famous story of I believe it was Luther Vandross and Anita Franklin, she told Luther Vandross, listen, that's what made me look at the story. They called her One Take Aretha or something like that. So she came in there. She's the queen of soul, all this other stuff. Luther Vandross is younger than her, but he's all about getting it right. All that perfection has got to be there on time. Do this, that. So she came in there. She pulled a royal. She killed it. But she killed it one time the way she wanted to do it and walked out. And Luther was like, where the hell are you going? And she was like, well, I already did it. And plus, I've already been here an hour. I was contracted for an hour. He was like, you can leave. I'll get somebody else to do the song. It's going to be good with or without you, or it can be a big hit. And he's like, she sat back down and she came in because she understood it was still always about the work. At the end of the day, the work has to get done. So when it comes to this story, you're talking about, I don't think that she's wrong because that's how she operates. But we also have to realize Bob or Robert Redford could have been on set with this director or several directors before and came to all these call times before and sat around for 7 to 8 hours. And he's like, never again. So we don't know the context of it, but maybe you could provide insight on that.
There was a little bit of context provided.
That was actually a part of when we get to the part with Redford.
Yes.
That you're right. That was part of what I was weighing when I went to talk to him. Yes.
Correct. But I like that about you. That's one thing about it. Doing your job is hard because, I mean, think about it. He's not happening to just work with, the crew, cast and crew. You got to work with egos, emotion. And like, you have to weigh these your career changing decisions. You go over the wrong way, you never work in this town again. You don't say it to him. You don't work in this town again. It's like,
it's always implied, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's start with Redford since we're on Redford.
Okay.
So the bullet points are you made the wise decision of Redford has a reputation for not being on time.
Correct.
So they had a discussion prior with the director that time is important on this one, and up until the point in this story, there was no issue with time.
Correct.
The next day, it was crucial, like especially crucial to be on time. And David, you made the wise choice to, instead of having him show up too early and then having the excuse in the future of like, I don't need to be on time because I sat around, call him 2 hours before he's supposed to be there. And then
he's in a different state.
Well, not yet. Well, so he communicates that with him the day before. I'm going to call you 2 hours before the call time. Good, got it. Which all that's conveyed beautifully in the book. Like it plays out like a scene. It's almost like
I can see it as I'm reading. You can see it.
Well, then the next day comes and Bob's in Utah, and of course the production is not in Utah. The production is in California, and so that's where the story leaves off with you bringing this news to the director John Avnet.
Can I ask you something? It goes along with what you're saying, and again, I know you somewhat touch on it, but I want to know instantaneously. What is instantaneous? The first thought is it? Didn't I just tell this motherfucker? We just had. How did we get here? We had so many barriers. How did we get here? And then you start to panic. Like, what was the literal first word or thought that entered that head of yours?
Well, when I heard a lot of static in the phone call, and he said, what, can you say that again? And I thought, that's weird, but subconsciously, not consciously. And gradually it came to me that there was something unusual about this communication. This wasn't how our phone calls went in Los Angeles. And so I asked him, I said, where are you? Can you hear me? Okay. No, not too well. No. I said, well, we have a bad connection. Maybe I'll call you back. Maybe. And then as I wrote, it dawned on me that something was up. So I asked him point blank, and he told me he was in Utah. And I remember blurting out, what, almost like you're kidding, because that was the last thing that was in my mind. He had never had any occasion to mention it at all. But apparently it was a very important meeting for him, having to do with Sundance, and he'd forgotten about it and just went, but didn't tell anybody. So
yeah, that's a situation where it must be really challenging to remain empathetic. Like,
well,
but
look, there's no sense. Here's the thing: there's no sense in going up about it, right?
yeah,
There's
Right.
no. It's a done deal.
there's no
So
win in
then-
this situation for
so
you.
then the
Yeah.
way, but then the way that you keep things on an even keel is to just accept it as a done deal and try to move on from there without making him feel any more guilty than he probably feels.
Yeah. But yeah, like going to John Abnett, who's not just a director, but also a producer, I wouldn't want to be in your shoes to do that. I feel like it's one of those situations where it's just like, this is the message. There's no easy way to put this. Are you just like a rip the Band-Aid off type of newsbreaker? Like it is what
I
it
didn't
is.
see any reason to sugarcoat it.
Oh.
John is a big boy. He's I like him a lot, but he can be tough.
Yeah.
And so I just went, and he'd see right through it anyway. If I started like pussyfooting around with something and like, well, John, I have some bad. And he's like, come on, what? Let's go.
Yeah.
And so I just walked in. I said, okay, here's your morning flash. I said, Bob is at Sundance. And it was like, bang, and I had my computer with me. I ran and got my computer, and I'm scrolling through Movie Magic like a madman, trying to figure out if there's something we can shove in there. And John was just completely nonplussed.
Yeah.
He,
And it's,
he was pissed, but he also, more than pissed, he was just saw this yawning empty day in front of him,
yeah.
which that's what got the real angst. We had part of a scene, and the thing that I am struck with when I was writing it was, why the hell did I have part of a scene hanging over into the morning? It must have had something to do with an actor we had to finish. That's the only thing I can think of, or a set we had to finish, but more likely an actor. So that we had to finish something. We had a few shots left. I couldn't tell how long it was going to go. Nobody could give me a concrete answer. And so I decided that the best way, rather than give Bob a hard call time, where if I called him too early and he sat around, then the next time he came in a little bit late, he could say, yeah, but, or if I gave him a spacious call time and called him at the last minute, there was a chance then that we'd lose some of our shooting time in the scene that we needed him in. So that's why I decided to go and talk to him. And I just figured a 2-hour time period was that I generally remembered him for the drive in, getting ready and getting to the set. It was kind of a 2-hour process. So when I went to talk to him, he was already dressed. He was on his way out to his car, basically. And I brought up the next day's scene, and he did this, he got uptight about it because he didn't, what's going to happen. And then when he found out that I was actually giving him a kind of an open-ended call time,
Yeah.
he immediately loved it. And the way he told me about it was, he clapped me on the back. He said, that's a great idea. He said, let's do it that way. Like, let's do it your way, And I left feeling like $1 million. Like he was pleased. It was going to work for us. And it was, that was a done deal. It's never a done deal in film, is it?
I could see that being like, the way you put that was really nice in the book, the way you walked away, because he seems like one of those big personalities that can command the energy in the room one direction or another. And if you've made him happy, then you're happy.
I had another run-in with him, a little tiny run-in, and I can't remember if it was before or after this, but we had a complicated location to get to. And I said, Bob, okay, here's the map. It's attached to the call sheet, but you have to, you have to turn specific places to get there. It's not just like you get on and off ramp from the freeway and you're a block away from the location. It's not like that. So he said, yeah, got it. Well, he came in the next morning and he was late and he was pissed. And he walked straight over to me holding the map. And he said, this damn map was all, effed up. How do you make sense of this? And all I did was, I just said, well, Bob, I'm really sorry, but it just seems that everybody else got here with the map. And, and I wanted to ask him if they're looking at it upside down, but I didn't want to fuck with him, and he quieted down pretty quick after that. But
I just feel like he looked back at the whole cast and crew, and everybody kind of has their map somewhere in their hand. Like, yeah, we all use the same map, but we got it, Bobby.
I definitely don't want any shade as somebody for one scenario, but yeah, for me it was just funny.
You know what Robert Redford just did? I would come in and act like,
oh
it's
yeah,
the map's fault.
Oh yeah,
what the hell kind of map is this? What? Yeah. You're an amateur, mate.
Yeah. That was the implication. And, he caught me there for a while. I wasn't ready for that. I was like, whoa, but, okay, these are two tiny things in the whole film. And honestly, most of the time, the great majority of the time, he was great. He was on time. He helped us. And it was because Avnet had a specific talk with him about it.
From a filmmaker standpoint, though, I just really empathize with the problem that created for the day, and the being just completely astounded on that phone call. Like, wait, so I thought worst case scenario, maybe an hour late, maybe we have to figure out something to do for 90 minutes. You're in a different state. Okay. So having to do that reset real time to not have the day be wasted. I just thought that's
point. And to your point, there weren't that many incidents or any like that before this.
What spun up for me when he said Utah was, I know where Sundance is and I know where the airport is in Salt Lake City. just those two places, it's an hour plus drive. So, figuring out that he might have to come back, trying to get back, getting to the airport, even if he had his own plane, which I have no idea how that worked, and then getting back and then getting from the airport to the set, there's no way.
Chapter 60. This is the polar opposite of what we just talked about in chapter 61. Michelle Pfeiffer, like we said, she has in her contract, and normally an actor has in their contract that they are committed to this much time. The chapter begins with her calling you into her trailer with her piercing blue eyes to remind you of this contract. I know you talk about it in the book, but can you describe how that went and what it's like, just Michelle Pfeiffer directing anything at you while looking you in the eyes, what that feels like?
Yeah, I mean, you immediately spin back through the whole day to see whether there was something that happened that might have upset her. And there wasn't anything that I could come up with. But I knew her a little bit because I'd done Batman Returns with her. And I knew that she was a big girl. She wasn't someone who particularly used people as props. ADs get used a lot sometimes, and I don't say that in a defeatist way. It's the way things are, and I understand that. But this, I didn't think was that, but I didn't know what it was. So I was kind of trying to figure out what she might have wanted to talk to me about, but I didn't go beyond that. I just went into neutral so that I could hear what it was. But you get somebody says, Michelle wants to see you in her trailer, and you go, okay. And you trot out, and it's summer and bright, after the stage, as you're kind of making your way across the lot and you're looking for her trailer. Oh yeah, there it is. And she's got, she has kids. So I think she didn't have the kids with her, but she had a little prey area. They had a little grass mat out in front of the trailer and some little chairs and an awning. And it's very kind of homey and in that horrendous way that trailers are home for things like this. And knocked on the door and she said, come in, but she said, come in a voice that you would know anywhere, you just would. It was Catwoman, and I went in and said hello and watched her closely without appearing to, trying to figure out what the body language was like and whether there was anything going on. There didn't really seem to be. And so I just waited till she talked. She was cordial and guarded. So I always equate it like this, So it was come in, how are you? Which none of that means anything. That's the routine you do before you get to the heart of the matter. And she gets right to the heart of the matter. She told me right away, what the deal was. And she just wanted to run it by me again and know that I understood as well. And, it was entirely professional. There was a tiny bit of warmth in the hello and that we've worked together before. But after that, it was just, here's what I need you to know. Tell me you know it. Great. I've covered everybody now. Done deal.
Is that typically, like, I know you said it's normal for an actor to have in their contract, this is my limit. Was that like out of the ordinary for the actor or actress to remind you, like, as an aside?
For me, it was, because it's kind of a done deal. I mean, SAG contracts are like that. You guys both know, it's 12 hours. And after that, you go into overtime or you go into something. But hers was that she had to give permission to go over that. And she had to do it beforehand, not as we got up to 12 hours and realized we needed another 45 minutes to ask her then. That's not okay.
And it is typical, though, on a film set for it to go over, but is it just usually I mean, it is like you kind of go into this in the next part of the chapter where it's a few weeks later after she's reminded you and you've had this discussion, like it's a few weeks, right? A few weeks have gone by with no issues.
Yeah, quite a few.
It's the day of when the thing happens. And I'm just curious if that's like, because you kind of had this thing like, like, we have to get this, we only had this location, like it is what it is. But what if she did leave? Like, what if she just left and you didn't have that? What would be the alternative?
It never occurred to me.
Yeah, that's that
body double, doppelganger. We got to looky Lou, something. You got to do something.
Yeah, get creative.
Well, the thing is, I figured we'd probably get it. It was getting tight. But when Michelle started looking at me, the one that put me on red alert was after we finished the rehearsal, and John turned to me and said, okay, Michelle has a few minutes now, while we get this stuff ready, and there's, they're bringing in dolly track and stuff. And when she left, everybody was doing stuff and Abner turned away, and she left and she just looked over at me, and it was fast. It wasn't a big deal at all, but there was no mistaking what she was saying.
Yeah, tick tick. Yeah, I just couldn't imagine those. Her eyes are so piercing. I would never want to be in the target of those eyes. And
well, yeah, but it didn't come off like that. It was so fast. It was like a tiny little pinprick somewhere, so it's oop. And I just, kind of, I thought, well, my responsibility to the production and her is to remind John that we're getting close, because maybe John's lost track of it.
Yeah, I'm not trying to suggest that she is any certain way. I have a personal like I'm personally intimidated by Michelle Pfeiffer, like from Dangerous Minds, where she's she's whipping hardcore gangsters in
Tell
shape.
me what
White
you want.
Oleander, she White Oleander, she's literally deadly. I mean, and she's very fierce, like you said. She's strong, she's independent.
Yeah,
And the eyes are
I
just
admire
piercing.
her
She's in
a
Marvel.
lot. And Catwoman too. Catwoman was,
Oh,
I mean, she did stuff on that show. People were just blown away. They really were. I mean,
Your unique situation in that as that played out though is so humorous to me, because you seem so passive, like you don't want, you just want everybody to be happy, you want everything to go smooth, peace, you want
it's a
peace,
unique
and you're
situation,
in
but
the situation where you know that how much is on the line, like you know how long it's going to take to do the scene, you know that she reminded you about her 12-hour day, and you know Abnett really wants to get his shots, and you're right
and
there in
we
the
had to
middle.
be out of the location.
But it's
you're right,
that's what I love so much about the story, is that you remind John about her contract, that she's getting up on her 12 hours. And I love the fact that after she leaves, that he says, he got the shot on the last one anyways. It's such a director thing. Like, even after it's like there's somebody like you has to be there to keep everything grounded. Because like,
I'd have passed out.
the director will just like keep going if he can, if something, because they
I
get
don't think
lost
he did
in.
get it. It was just more so like, why make a
No,
fuss? Like,
he
what's
did,
going to come
he
from
did,
this?
he
What,
did.
did you say he got it on the last shot though?
Yeah, he did.
I'm saying, I know he got it, but my whole point, he probably wanted another angle, but why make a fuss to his point? Like, why? No, just let it go, man. She said 12 hours. I mean, hey, she's a good sport.
Yeah, I mean, it's humorous to me that's the perfect punchline to the story. Is it's okay, I got it on the last one, because
It's very director like.
It is.
yeah,
I mean,
you
you
keep
always,
going.
if you have another minute and you'd like to see just a smidge longer on something that you can't even really quite quantify, but you can see it's on the edge of being there for what you had in mind. But what the shot was before that was fine,
Yeah,
and
fine.
fine on the good side, not just fine, flat, neutral. It was fine. It was good.
We're losing
But
the
the thing that
sun.
was funny about it to me was she's playing her whole reaction to a tape mark on the wall with the script woman reading Redford's lines, because that Redford meeting was, we were told about that days before. This wasn't something that he just suddenly remembered and left. I mean, we knew about this. We were prepped for it. I explained to Michelle that maybe, Bob was going to leave before she had her last shot done. And she was fine with it. She got it.
In that chapter, you had mentioned that John Abnett was one of your favorite or became one of your favorite directors to work with. Yeah. Is there a particular reason for that, or something about him that stood out?
Well, I liked his hustle. I liked he wanted what he wanted, and he made it very clear. And he didn't kowtow to people if he wasn't getting what he wanted. He wanted to know why the hell he wasn't, Mm-hmm. And you always knew where you stood with him. He wasn't like cute with you or like anything, I mean, he was always straight with me. He always told me, okay, that shot worked great. That was great. We're moving on. And I always knew that that's the way he really felt. He wasn't moving on because we had to move on, kind of thing. And he had petulant moments, but he didn't mask those either. He was very plain about it. And I just felt like I always knew where I stood with him, and I always told him what I thought. And even though I knew sometimes he wasn't going to like what I said, but and I felt he trusted me because he knew where I stood too. And that's a good working relationship. That's what you hope for.
Red Corner came after Up Close and Personal, or like almost directly after. So I guess the feelings were mutual.
Well, he asked me to do Red Corner at the beginning of the show, but we just had Natalie. Mm-hmm. And what we did when we had our kids was we went for 40 days without seeing anybody. Only stayed indoors with the newborn and and Evan, who was born before her, we took 40 days time out from life. And I told John we weren't doing anything for 40 days and he needed me for the prep, so he moved on to somebody else. And then 2 days left in the 40 days, he calls back and he says, look, my first assistant's wife just got in a head-on or a terrible car crash. She was on medication. She'd been hurt. And she was really hurt now. And he had to leave the show. Would I please come? And I went into Shannon and I talked about her. I said, I got to go. And she said, I know, and I went.
And that actually we get into a story for the viewers. That's in the second installment of Best Seat. We get into a pretty crazy story that happened in Red Corner with some pranks with John Abnett and the stunt coordinator. But going back to the specific scene in the book, that's so funny to me that and it was like it's a dangerous situation where you're inching close to the actor's rap time, and the last thing that they do is like they have to like they exit the scene. It's so perfect that she could just like transition straight from character, Pfeiffer, gone.
Right. That's what she did. And she must have left in all her wardrobe and everything, I mean, that was it. She's going home.
It was me. I think that was making a statement. It was more like the performer in her, the actress in her is like, hey, I'm going to leave. I'm going to make sure that this is a story that gets told.
I think so. I think so too. I never, actually thought about it a lot to myself and tried to figure out, was there another way? I mean, it was just a wonderful that's the kind of things that happen, and just happen in front of you. And we were both standing there looking down PCH and the cars are flying by, and he was like, okay, have a good weekend.
It's an important detail and I can't remember it. Did it actually go beyond her 12 hours for the take or two after that, or
a couple of minutes?
So she stuck around, make sure she knew. Well, so she knew that
in the midst of the shot that John printed and probably used, I think we were in her 12 hours. And so when he called her back for another one, she wasn't going to hear that part. I don't know if she ever even heard him.
Been in front of the camera, or if you're coming with her kind of pedigree, that I gave him what he needs.
And plus, you start pulling that hair out, man. You can't get that bad. Not like that. Not that quick. Can't get that bad.
Yeah. The way that story unfolds though is so perfect with the taillights and him saying that he had it already. That's just so perfect. I wish I knew. Just going back to the Bob in Utah thing, I really wish I knew what that's the only thing about that chapter is it's a cliffhanger. It ends with like you tell him, and I want to know, the filmmaker in me wants to know what you guys did instead, how that day was solved. But I know you probably don't remember the specific details of
I don't, and I sort of wanted to leave it there because
it works.
Then you get the feeling of what John was feeling,
I'm very frustrated.
My day just went away.
Yes, I have a puzzle and I just want to solve it.
People can understand we're all just people doing this stuff, doing the best we can. Robert didn't bag anybody by trying to go to that meeting. He suddenly realized he had this huge meeting, and Sundance is a giant deal, which and it was a business meeting, and he never even explained anything to me. I never heard anything about it at all.
And you did a really good job in that chapter of like, while you're telling the truth of what exactly happened, it's told in this way where you could tell that the motive of the story is to convey just the flabbergastedness of it, like from your position, from telling him the day before to how the hell are you a few states over, and that confusion and that initial moment when you first call him and you're starting to put the pieces together, what might be happening here is conveyed so well.
And also, if you remember, when I first started writing this stuff down, it was for my kids. It was so they would know why I willingly left them for 6-8 months at a time. That was my living, but here's what drew me to it that you couldn't possibly know when you're 4, 5, 6 years old. So that's where it started, and the tone of that for me is right. I prefer to remember the things like that you get enjoyment out of and you can share with people. I mean, you know, we all have volumes of stuff that we could talk about that's the other way around, you know, that
Mhm.
that the bum stuff, the nasty stuff, the duplicitous stuff. Yeah, but that's not for me.
Yeah, what good does it really do?
World needs balance. Without balance, there's chaos, man.
Yeah.
It's just the truth.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, when going back to that perspective, that it's for your kids, that makes it, that contextualizes the whole thing perfectly. It's just, you are the perfect center point for these stories, like, 'cause it just seems like this craziness is happening around you, and you're this like perfect grounded passive observer. Like, not always, I mean, you're right there in it, but you
No,
know,
I
way,
had some distance between it too, so I could look
Yeah.
back and appear dispassionate. There were times in a lot of these stories where I was absolutely blown away and had no idea how the pieces were going to come down.
Mhm.
But you know, that was part of the job, and it's also a large part of filmmaking. I mean, you start every day, you don't know what's going to happen. You have a plan, and a lot of times things go really well, and a lot of times things just go upside down.
Do you celebrate Valentine's Day?
Oh yeah.
Do you have
Oh, yeah.
anything planned for this Valentine's Day?
Well,
This'll
my
go
wife is
after,
working,
so-
so what I've done in my card for her is I've told her that, you know, this is good for a dinner at the time and place of her choosing, and that, you know, it doesn't have a due date or an end date. So anytime I'm giving her this present. It's this box of that has a cake in it, but when you open the box, all these paper butterflies fly out. You've probably seen it on
Yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah.
And I just thought, you know, I gotta see what that's like. So I got that for her, and I've got.
It sounds like you got that for you.
I did. I'm getting it
Yeah.
for me, so I can see her reaction. Because if you ever see my wife, you'll know why I do that. She is, you know, like, I'm sure you guys know about it. You know, somebody who smiles and the sun comes out. You know, that's her.
Nice.
And I got her flowers, and I do the dishes a lot.
Listen, David, friend of the show, friend of the program, friend of life. We really appreciate you coming on. Again, you guys, if you've not read the book is a treat. So many stories, all packed in there, and again, great writing from a great guy. Is it, before you go, any parting words for the world? It's the month of love. Any parting words?
Happy Valentine's Day, and I hope things get better for everybody quick. This is a rough patch we're all in.